discovering the incredible benefits of hot yoga by setting an intention. Sometimes you'll hear a teacher say, set your intention before class. You'll never hear Bikram say it because it's pretty out there for him.
No, I won't say it.
I say it, even if the teachers don't. I highly suggest you set your own intention. When you have something specific to work on in class, especially if you're in the Bikram world where you're doing a set sequence, it's easy to go on autopilot. By setting a specific intention in class, it can make all the difference. I'm going to suggest a few intentions that you can use. You can almost call them affirmations, and I'm going to put them in 3 categories: physical, mental, spiritual. So I'm going to give you 6 suggested intentions: 2 for the physical, 2 for the mental, 2 for the spiritual.
Thank you so much.
So let's talk about the physical first. Let's face it, we are in the age of postural yoga. You don't see meditation studios all over the world. You see yoga studios that offer yogic asana. Here's my first suggested intention. Today in my practice, I am stronger than ever before. What you want to do when you set your intention is putting it in the present moment. Not I'm going to be stronger, I'm going to be more flexible, because now you're making the suggestion to the universe that you aren't strong yet or you aren't flexible yet. Put it in the present moment. Today I am stronger in my practice than ever before. So let's talk about strength, because strength is just as important as flexibility. A lot of people associate the yogic postures with how flexible you are, but you must have the strength to support the flexibility. It goes hand in hand. We actually want it to be even. Before we continue on, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, hit the notification bell. Any questions, comments, or concerns, put them down below. I'm happy to get back to you. You want to learn all about hot yoga, hit the subscribe button and the like button right now. It was so important for my teacher's teacher, Vishnu Ghosh, that he actually combined weight training with yogic asana. When Bikram came to the United States in the mid-1970s, he cut out the weight training and just did asana. However, if you're not doing weight training and you're just practicing on your yogic postures, having the strength in your intention can be extremely important, because again, we need to have that strength to support your flexibility. I've talked about this many times before. My mother was extremely flexible. She could sit in lotus position all day long and watch television, but she couldn't stand on one leg for more than a few seconds. She didn't have the strength to support it. We got to have the strength to support our flexibility. So if you're doing a posture like standing head to knee, for example, and you can only hold it for a few seconds, you may have the flexibility to do the full position. But if you can only hold it for a few seconds, you're going to have a tough time developing and progressing in that pose. So now you have to give yourself that tangible goal along with your intention. Give yourself 5 or 6 seconds longer. If you can only hold it for 10 seconds, hold it for 12. If you hold it for 12 for a while, then you go to 14. But you got to give yourself that tangible goal. Build the strength. One of the main dynamics of the yogic asana, Bikram used to say it all the time, is contraction, relaxation. We contract the muscles in the pose, tight, 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 to penetrate into a deep inner core spot. Tight, 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 and then we release it. And by releasing it, it's like a tourniquet. We're holding back the circulation into that particular target area. When we release the contraction, the blood and oxygen flow through to heal, to balance, and also to help create more range of motion.
Wow. Didn't know that.
But strength, especially if you're more flexible than you are strong, you've got to contract the muscles tight. That standing leg, and when you're doing the standing poses like standing bow, keep that quadricep muscle engaged. What a difference it's going to make. My second suggested intention on the physical, still in the physical category, is today I am more flexible. I have more range of motion than ever before. You want to visualize yourself doing the pose before you start. So let's say you're doing a standing bow, for example. You don't want to just get up and pick up your foot and go. Before you start the position, mentally picture yourself doing the pose better than ever before. It's like an Olympic athlete. Many of the Olympians, they'll actually visualize in their head going through the entire event. Do the same thing with standing bow. See it in your mind, picture it, and there you go. So you have a positive image that couples with your intention. It's going to make a big difference. When you have this visual image in your head, it also can make a lot of difference. I remember watching the Olympics in 1984. They were in Los Angeles, but I was already in Florida. I just moved about 2 years earlier. And I was watching the men's gymnastics. When they were doing the floor exercise, they would slowly rise up into a handstand. I wasn't able to do that. I could do handstands back then. I would kick up into it, but I kept watching it and having it in my mind and visualizing it. And I said, let me go try it. I went into the living room as I'm watching the gymnastics, and I went right up into that handstand. just by having that visual image. So along with your intention, right before you do the pose, visualize it in your head, seeing you going farther than ever before, holding it maybe a few seconds longer. In this case, we're talking about flexibility. Find that range of motion in your mind, then implement it into your practice. Moving on to category number 2, the mental. Here's my first suggested intention for the mental. Today in my practice, I'm going to be stress-free. One of the miracles of doing yoga, especially the intense yoga that we do in the hot yoga world, in the BIKRAM and the BARKAN class, is that afterwards, there's a phenomenal euphoric feeling. People say, well, I can do that when I'm running. I have a runner's high. When you're having a runner's high, it's a little different because when you're having a runner's high, you have an endorphin rush. The difference when you're having what I call the yoga high is that it becomes more holistic. It's not just the release of endorphins that's happened after the class. It's a release of tension in the body, especially into hard to get to places that can create a wonderful feeling of euphoria, a wonderful feeling of release. And it also helps mental stress. So many times we can hold traumatic events, specific traumatic events, in our body. So as we begin to release the body, as we begin to release it into hot yoga, through the alignment, through the heat, sometimes we can release the mental tension. We can release the stress. So now we make that an intention in a class. As a result of our practice, we are stress-free. My second suggested intention on the mental side. Today, I will not judge my practice. Judgment is a big thing. You don't want to get frustrated on how far you're going into the pose. This is what is. The good news is you're doing the best possible thing you can because you're in the right, if you're in the right position, hopefully you are. Proper alignment is key. You're putting forth your best effort. You're in that hot room. You're doing the best thing you can to find the next level, to go to that next place. If you make a judgment about where you are in the position, if you're thinking, oh, I wish I could do what that person's doing in the front row, oh, I wish I could do what that person is doing there who's been here for 10 years and you're only there for 6 months, how can you make that comparison? That judgment, that negativity that you put on yourself will actually ripple into your physiology and slow down your process, retard your process. We want to accelerate it, getting out of the judgment. This is what is. I'm holding my position for as long as I can, and my only goal, and I've said this before, is the next inch. Outside of the United States, the next 2 centimeters. That's it. But the key is the first part of that equation is not to judge the position. When you judge, once again, it's going to work against you. This is what is. Don't be upset. I remember one time one of my students came up to me and said, Jimmy, I just can't do standing head to knee. My leg just won't straighten out. But he's got the most amazing hips. He could sit in a position like lotus pose for all day long, like my mother. I said to him, my hips are never tight. I could never do lotus position like that. My hamstrings were flexible. You want to switch? How absurd does that sound? Because this is what is. Your goal is the next inch. Your goal is the next 2 centimeters. Let's get rid of judgment. Moving on to category number 3, the spiritual side. Here's my suggestion. Today, I have found the present moment. A lot of times we're not in the present moment, especially we're on our devices all the time, our phone, our laptop. We got Instagram, we got TikTok, we got YouTube now. Constantly in the doing. What yoga does, what the yoga practice does, especially in the hot yoga world, because it's so intense, it actually forces us into the present moment. That's another reason why after the class is over, you just want to lay there. Not just because you're exhausted from the heat, but because you've gotten rid of the physical tension, you've gotten rid of the mental stress. Now you can just lay still and enjoy the present moment. Allow the hot yoga practice to bring you to a present moment where you're not thinking about regrets from the past, anxiety for the future, but a present moment stillness that we can use as a reference for the rest of our day. I found the present moment. Second, suggested intention on the spiritual side. Today I'm connected to God, to the universe, and everyone in it. Yoga is meant to be Unitarian. So it's really not about the yogic God or my God. It's about your God. Whatever God means to you and how you personally relate to God. Maybe you don't say God. Maybe you say the universe. Whatever it means to you. Yogananda has a wonderful phrase. He says, talk to God in the language of your own heart. So yes, we can talk about the physical and the mental benefits of yoga all day long. Many people forget about the spiritual. The spiritual was the original intention why yoga was created in the first place. 6,000 years ago, people were suffering. They went to the tribal leaders, the shamans. They were the first one to intuit the science of yoga. And the shamans realized that people were suffering back then, And we continue to suffer today for the same reason, that we're under the illusion that we're separate beings. So the reason why they chose the word yoga, the shamans did so long ago, which means yoke or union, it's not the yoke and union of your mind, your body, and your soul. A lot of people will define it that way, because that still keeps you in the separation. Yoga is the union between man and woman and God, man and woman to the universe. That's why they chose the word yoke in the first place. So now after our physical asana practice, we have that euphoric feeling. And what I do in my class, after my class, I've been doing it for a long time now, is just imagine your own energy, or pranic energy is the third eye. As you close your eyes, you're thinking of that energy in the third eye. And I say, send that energy to each person in this room. And then realize you're receiving it back at the same time. And in so doing, we come together to support each other through the power of yoga. So don't forget about the spiritual side, because it definitely was the first main intention for the practice. And we bring it all together, the physical, the mental, and the spiritual come together. There's the miracle. So by setting an intention, working on something specific, I guarantee you it's going to put you in the present moment. It's going to improve your practice. It's going to get you off of autopilot, especially if you're in the Bikram world. You know what's up. You know what posture is next. You don't want to be on autopilot all the time. It's going to get you present, and you're going to see more tangible results. So that's our episode for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. Any questions, comments, put them down below. I'm happy to get back to you. You want to learn all about hot yoga and grow together, hit the subscribe button and like button right now, and I'll see you the next video. Bye, everyone.